In this video, we're going to change the brake pads on my Tamobyke V30, but the same applies to a V20, also the new Cityscape 2.0. To change the brake pads, you're going to need a set of hex keys or hex wrenches and some needle nose pliers. Now these brake pads I sourced online. A link to the pads is above and also in the description. So let's get started on changing the brake pads out. The first thing you're going to do is bend the cotter pin tab down in the back. It might help if you have a smaller set of pliers. I'm going to reach in here, try to bend it as straight as possible, and then grab on the end of the cotter pin and then pull it through. Now you're able to remove those pads. Once you remove the caliper, I'm going to use a 5mm hex to loosen the caliper and remove it from the frame. Now take note, I have these washers between the caliper and the bracket. So I'm going to make sure I put them back the way they are or the caliper will rub. You can see here, these are the pads. They're relatively good shape. Here are the pads, but you can see these are a lot thinner than, let's say, the ones from the Shimano that I'm going to be using. So with the new pads that you see here, you're going to load them into the spring. Spring sits there like this. Then put the other pad in. Now you can see the thickness difference between the stock pads and the new Shimano pads. They're definitely thicker. All right, to install the pads, you're just going to simply slide them back in the caliper like the original ones were. Slide it up through, and then you're going to want to use a new cotter pin and slide that through so everything is aligned. Then position the cotter pin so that you can bend the tab like that. And now I'm going to reinstall it back on the rotor. You can see there isn't a lot of space here, and it's hard to get on the rotor because the new pads are thicker. Now, a few ways to spread these pads open. Don't use a screwdriver because it'll gouge out the pads. You could use a putty knife like this and kind of just pry on it a little bit. I also have these little plastic wedge pieces, which are even better. Just kind of gently work it in there, and now you can see that it goes on the rotor no problem. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and put those spacers on. The spacer goes between the bracket and the caliper to give it the proper standoff. I'm going to go ahead, just start the top one. Get that finger tight. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the bottom one on. Now leave this loose so the caliper can move around. See how it moves around? To center the caliper on the rotor, you're going to simply reach up to the handlebars, squeeze the brake lever that will center the caliper on the rotor, then tighten the bolts down. And now it's centered on the rotor and the wheel spins freely. I'm going to move on to the back wheel, but I hope that you liked this video, subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.